We are a nation led by dumb, old, out of touch, reactionary white men. And of course, as is the case, the Democratic Party is doing the absolute worst thing that they could possibly do and lean into their worst possible instincts. As always, as expected, Democratic Party had better chances on immigration and a better way to captivate like a young Latino voter base in places like Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona, places that allowed them to win, mind you. And they decided, you know what? This election is going to be built around the suburbs. And that's what we care about. We don't care about anybody else. We are going to do the most right-wing thing we possibly could do. And after only 4 years ago, running on the exact opposite policies that he is now implementing and celebrating, we're just going to say, fuck it, YOLO.
What the Republicans in Congress refuse to do, take the necessary steps to secure our border. 4 months ago, after weeks of intense negotiation between my staff and Democrats and Republicans, we came to a clear bipartisan deal. It was the strongest border security agreement in decades. But then Republicans in Congress, not all, but walked away from it. Why? Because Donald Trump told them to. He told the Republicans, it has been published widely by many of you, that he didn't want to fix the issue. He wanted to use it to attack me. That's what he wanted to do. It was a cynical and an extremely cynical political move and a complete disservice to the American people who are looking for us to not to weaponize the border, but to fix it. Today, I'm joined by a bipartisan group of governors, members of Congress, mayors, law enforcement officials, most of whom live and work along the southern border. They know the border is not a political issue to be weaponized.
Dog, are we pro-Trump now? What? Pro-Trump? Why would we be pro-Trump? If I was pro-Trump, I'd be elated at the fact that his enemy right now, his political enemy who he's running against, has basically given the greatest gift of all, which is legitimacy to the lies that he has spread for years alongside the Republican Party for decades about how immigrants are a national security problem. If I was pro-Trump, I'd be like, hell yeah, bitch, look at this old fucking asshole. He's right. Joe Brandon, it's such a big problem. Even these commie, godless vampire monsters recognize how much of a immigrants are, and that's why they're doing this asylum seeker bill. And that's precisely why I'm going to keep voting for Donald Trump. He's been right all along.
Responsibility we have to share to do something about it. They don't have time for the games played in Washington, and neither do the American people. So today, I'm moving past Republican obstruction and using the executive authorities available to me as president to do what I can on my own to address the border. Frankly, I would have preferred to address this issue through bipartisan legislation because that's the only way to actually get the kind of system we have now that's broken, fixed, to hire more Border Patrol agents, more asylum officers, more judges. But Republicans have left me no choice. Today, I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern border unlawfully from receiving asylum. Migrants will be restricted from receiving asylum at our southern border unless they seek it after entering through an established lawful process. And those who seek to come to the United States legally, for example, by making an appointment and coming to a port of entry, asylum will still be available to them, still available. But if an individual chooses not to use our legal pathways, if they choose to come without permission and against the law, they'll be restricted from receiving asylum and staying in the United States. This action will help us to gain control of our border, restore order into the process. This ban...
I hate this man so much more than I ever thought I would 1 year ago. Yeah, I love that this is like Brandon literally looking at the situation and going, honestly, Jack, let me tell you, are we going to be brave? Are we going to lead by example? Fuck no. We are going to do all of the worst things the Democratic Party has done so consistently throughout the years in an election that should not even be remotely close, just like in 2016. An election that should not be close at all is now going to turn into an election that, you know, the Republican Party might actually win. I don't understand. I thought the migrants who come to the border illegally are at risk of being taken advantage of as slaves. Yes, there's a two-tier labor process in this country. The only way to solve that structure is by legalizing the undocumented migrants. The entire criminalization of like voluntary travel into the borders of the United States was designed specifically so that there is a two-tier labor system in this country with a hyper-exploitable group of individuals. Everything that I just talked about, however, is not something that is a national security issue. It is, and you might recognize this immediately, it's an economic issue. We destroy the global south. We cause political instability. We cause chaos in an effort to extract their natural resources and oftentimes their labor as well. Then, in that chaos and instability, people obviously are escaping that chaos and instability, and they want to come into the United States of America looking for a better life, a better future for themselves, and security and safety for their children. Then, when they come into America, we go, oh, thank God. What a perfect opportunity. Come in, come right in. You are illegal now. And what that means is you have to work for the shittiest wages, the worst conditions possible. Yeah, we will not give you this piece of paper that says you can just do this legally, which would give you a set of protections, albeit meager protections, but protections nonetheless, so that we can even further exploit you. Then we can also use this never-ending pool of migrants coming in to work because they're in desperate conditions as a way to depress wages for the documented working class. For the documented labor force, we will say, hey, you don't have to do this stuff. We have slaves already for it, okay? Damn near slave wages. It's beautiful. We bake it into our profit margins. The entirety of the American agricultural output is reliant on undocumented labor. The Biden 24 campaign might genuinely be worse than Hillary 2016. All signs point to 18 to 35 vote deciding the election, and currently Trump is more popular in the candidate age range, not because there are more Republicans in that age group, but because so many people in that age group fucking hate Brandon, but Brandon wants to push on with policies that are strongly abhorred by the age group genius. It's because the 18 to 35 age demographic does not go out and vote. It's a minor percentage of people that go out and vote. And instead of trying to captivate them, trying to actually get them to vote for the first time, even in many instances, or vote at all, well, that takes a lot of time and effort. It changes your basic policy calculus, too. The Brandon camp is looking at likely voters, people who have voted, people who love voting, people who come when they think about voting. You know, age demographics where people are voting by much higher percentages than the 18 to 35 demographic. Those guys are reactionary. Those guys are right wing. Those guys are really worried about immigration. Now, part of the problem in this conversation is that there's no alternative. There's no media machine fucking pushing in the same way that like the right wing propaganda outlets regularly pump out anti-immigrant sentiment. Local news is also pretty fucking right wing. Shouts out to Sinclair Broadcasting. It's all a monopoly now, and they're also running the whole like immigrant crime panic narrative on a regular basis for two different reasons. One, because if it bleeds, it leads, and everybody knows that. And two, this kind of right wing sentiment is great. Gets people to watch. Fear sells. They see the polls, they panic, and they go, oh, well, we got to do the same thing we've always done. Go more right wing. Very, very, very stupid stuff. Very stupid stuff. And when the Democratic Party does not present a strong counter to the Republican Party or even put forward legislation that the Republicans must react to and keep their attention on, then all of a sudden the Republicans lead the conversation. And that is how you arrive at the ratchet effect. That is how you arrive at Brandon literally going in a 4-year timeline, in a 4-year span. Brandon goes from being like, no person is criminal. No one is illegal, Jack. I'm going to be doing amnesty in the first 100 days of my election. All the way to, I'm Brandon. I'm the migrant destroyer. Something to consider. A few months ago, I shared a study from Oxford showing that when liberals adopt the policies or polities and narratives of the right wingers, they lose support and push their countries towards the fascists. Biden and many Democrats, in so many ways each day, are walking us off the cliff, something that I've been warning about for quite some time. As a matter of fact, you guys know this. I've been talking about this literally for years. If you capitulate to the right, all you've done is basically galvanize them. They are not coming at this issue from a point of real facts. They're not looking at this analytically. They're not looking at this critically. They're not looking at the facts of the matter. They are hysterical. They are crazy. They are oftentimes racist. So when you look at the racist fucking hysteria, the racist panic that they're cultivating, and you don't go, hey, that's actually racist hysteria. Fuck off with that bullshit. Here are the facts. And instead go, sorry, the racist hysteria is far too fucking popular, so we're going to have to go with that instead of launching a counter. You end up capitulating to the right and you end up saying they are right. They're correct. This happens all the time. This happened with the defund the police momentum. This happened with the crime panic. And it's fucking stupid because that is bad politics and it's bad policy. You lose seats when you do that. You lose popularity when you do that. You can never outflank the right on racism. They own it. You can never outflank the right on patriotism. They own it. Patriotism in the way that Americans understand it is very different than like patriotism in the way that you might understand it, but it doesn't matter. When will we learn from the lessons of the past? Although there is no factual accuracy or real basis for the way that Republicans have created and cultivated this white nativist anti-immigrant sentiment in this country, saying that immigration is a national security problem and not an economic problem that must be solved by legalizing immigration and offering pathways to citizenship, but instead by consistently creating a fucking panicked narrative built around white supremacist attitudes, even though there is no real factual basis for having these opinions. As a matter of fact, the facts show the exact opposite of what we are presenting. Maybe the Republicans are right because, sorry, they're far too popular now. This narrative is far too fucking popular. It is ridiculous. Why are they doing this? And let me tell you why they're doing it. I'll tell you why. One, because this is, they have miscalculated and think that this is like far too popular of an agenda. Okay, this is far too popular. The people are like, we're terrified of immigration. No one is asking why people are terrified of immigration. Everyone's simply saying we're terrified of immigration. No one is asking the question, how do we like deal with this? How do we educate the people that like their fears are born out of racist panic that they've been whipped into a frenzy by fucking Fox News and all these other outlets? Number one, they are miscalculating and think that like a lot of people think that like someone's got to do something about immigration. Oh my God, that's what the polls show. That's what the polls show. That's what the polls show. And the other reason why they're doing it is, and perhaps this is even fucking stupider than the first reason, they're doing this to show hypocrisy. They're doing this to be like, see, the Republicans don't care about killing migrants. I do. Bitch, you're a Democrat. The fuck do you mean? You are a fucking idiot. You are dumb as fuck for this, okay? This is bad politics and bad policy. This is handing a gift. Wonderful, wonderful triangulation, sir. Thank you for going against every single policy position that you ran on 4 years prior when you were objectively seen as much more favorable than you are seen now on the issue of immigration. 4 years ago, when Donald Trump was melting migrants, Joe Brandon, as you guys recall, ran on a pro-immigration agenda. At that point, the difference between who can handle the migrant crisis better in the margins, infinitely closer for Joe Biden. And the many gains that he got from that, beyond the fact that they were infinitely closer, okay, than they are now, the many gains he got from that was obviously a shit ton of fucking support, second generation migrant children in very important states that are now blue that maybe won't be blue this time around. However, we of course immediately went back on that shit. His first 100 days promises were all cast aside instantaneously. And now he's trying to outflank Donald Trump on immigration. Bro, that's the build the wall guy, bro. You can't outflank him. He will always find a way to be more racist than you. And he has already. He literally has. Brandon is over here being like, yeah, that's right. We're cutting off asylum seekers. What is Trump doing? We are going to deport 11 million migrants living in this country. That's insane. Look what you did.